Kelly, I will ask because your name on the screen says Kelton. So as
Yes.
you introduce yourself, I know you're publicly Kelton Allen, and we first met. I said, "Hey, Kelton, how you doing?" And it felt
Yeah.
really weird because I think you said, "Yeah, Kelly, nice to meet you." But Kelly Allen, tell me why you do that, the name thing, but then also who are you and why do we care?
Okay. Who? I hope you don't care. My name is Kelton Allen. Obviously, you brought that up, but Coach Kelly is what everybody's known me as. 22 years here at Terramall Tennis Center. So it's been a while. I've seen this place go through a couple different buildings. Um, Started. I mean, I was a kid when I started here. Just kind of looking back, you might get me choked up even talking about this because there's been a lot of changes, and it's almost like automobiles. You have it long enough, you miss it when it's gone. And so some of these changes occur, and this place has always been there for those changes. So anyway, I got into coaching right out of college. I went to Hanover College. I got into coaching because I got invited by a colleague or somebody I played against throughout my college career to go to Vandermeer's and learn to teach there. Sorry. um, to learn to teach there. And under Dennis Vandermeer, I ended up getting certified and going through his whole program. And all of a sudden, I'm making money teaching tennis. I'd gone to school to do business and all this. I just could not believe that somebody would actually pay you money to teach tennis, and now they're going to be asking me why I'm charging them. But it was one of those things where, wow, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I think there was one day teaching a group of adults or something, and we finally got paid more than $5 an hour. And then, immediately I'm like, man, I'm gonna do this. So I ended up moving to Atlanta, getting a job through good old Scott Mitchell. I was telling you, Bobby, and Scott was great, but they ended up moving on, and
Yes.
I ended up falling into this position. So thousands of tennis players taught later, here I am. And it's like I said, I hope it doesn't matter that much, and I hope you don't care too much. But I hope those that I help can benefit from it.
And I like the idea of thousands of people because when you've been at a place, and we've all, as coaches, we deal with thousands of people. I think it was a famous or a not so famous philosopher that told me on a call recently about helping a coach can be more valuable than helping thousands of people because that coach can help thousands of people themselves. And as we get
Yes,
to a certain point in our careers, we get a chance to bring up some of the younger coaches and be influences in a good way. And you being basically a staple at Terrell Mill really allows yourself to do more than just coach each individual player that comes in. You get to mentor a coach or two, I would guess.
absolutely. And it's, gosh, been an gut punch to the ego at first, because I grew up in that world we were talking about. Coaching. I run into a few kind of like titans in the area that I embed myself with, and I kind of learn their ways of developing high performance players, trying to make a name for myself, and take on their ideas, even though those ideas might have been against what I had in mind. Right. And so we get into these habits, and it just builds up one on top of another like a scar. And if we don't continue to expand out and communicate with the coaches around us, or even the younger coaches that may know more, which that's next, um, it it gets boring. It gets incredibly boring. There's no end to it. You're always just going through the motions because it's what you've always done. And I think that we all need. We should always be growing, personally, professionally, whatever. And somewhere along the way, in the middle of all these years, I felt like I stopped growing. And then COVID hit and things changed a little, and you got back on your toes. And I'm like, man, I missed that grind and coach that was really excited to get out there. It's like all of a sudden everything changed, and it woke something up inside of me, and made me think a little differently.
Well, in that case, we've said in tennis, and Bobby and I have had this conversation with multiple people multiple times about COVID. Actually, it's hard to say it's a good thing, right? So that caveat there, it's never a good thing to have a pandemic, but the silver lining, the things that happened because of it and the adjustments that we made from tennis about being one of the best COVID sports because it's outside. But we've all been through all that. And it's really
Yeah.
cool that we all reviewed ourselves. Bobby and I got on many calls during 2020 and said, "Hey, I got an idea. We think we can affect some change here. We think we can make a difference." And the idea that the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, the second, or 20 years ago, second best time.
Yeah.
And for us, starting this conversation and being able to have it with the hundreds of people we've had now, I can't wait till we get to say thousands, Bobby. But in the beginning, it was just one. You have that conversation and say, "Hey, we're thinking about getting us together and being friends. Let's be an industry that works together, as opposed to these hyper competitive. We're tennis players. We want to win." But in business, in this case, the phrase you and I discussed previously, and I want to jump right into this, is growing the pie versus dividing up the pie, right? And I heard John Wertheim say that. I stole that from John Wertheim on Andy Roddick's podcast recently. But I love the concept, just an easy way to describe it. Instead of saying what's mine is mine and you can't have it, let's get together and find out how we can help each other grow this tennis pie. That's a strange thing to say.
Yeah, and that I feel like that can go in a few different directions. We're talking about like growing the pie and how we get people involved. Obviously, it can go, are we teaching younger players? You know, how much do we actually respect beginners that are coming in that are teenagers, right? Like pickleball's killing us right now because teenagers are walking out there and they're playing and it's easy. You see groups of high school kids getting together 20 or 30 at a time, meeting at the pickleball courts and they're playing. And every time they seem to show up at our tennis courts, well, you're not high performing. So we're going to put you over there with the rec kids. As if rec kids is even a respectful like connotation at that point. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of that's getting into my king of tennis thing, but we'll be there in a minute.
We'll get there.
But it's if we don't respect the weakest among us, we're not going to grow that pie. So all we're going to do is fight over the work that everyone else has done.
Well, and the two things we wanted to really focus on today was respecting the youngest. But I think there's a lot of coaches out there that do one thing and say, "Okay, I just work with kids." I mean, my business specifically is a good example of that. Tennis for Children is just kids. We don't work with adults. Am I capable as a coach? Yes, but that's not what I do. So if you've got a facility where you've got to offer everything, Bobby, you can't just focus on kids. You've actually outsourced it to Tennis for Children at your facility, Bobby. So what Kelly is talking about and what we've discussed previously offline was, how do we bring in more people? How do we grow the sport? Aside from the USTA's claim they're going to have 35 million people play, can we get another 35 or maybe even 3 to 5 people coming in to grow what's going on? Bobby, what's our starting point there that we say, let's bring more people in, as opposed to I have to find the people that are probably playing with some other coach and steal them? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
No, unfortunately, it boils to economics. I mean, first and foremost, we're a business. We have to feed ourselves, feed our families. If we're attached to a club, we probably have some financial goals that we're supposed to reach to show that we're viable. And it makes the whole process very adversarial. So it's not easy. Like you said, to grow a program, you're going to have to go out and call it a drill, but be satisfied with 2 people and be there for 6 weeks, where those 2 people come for 6 weeks and tell a friend or 2. So then we get that number to 4. But a lot of people will shut it down after 3 weeks and say, "Well, I'm not making any money." Well, you're making more money than you were if you weren't doing it. So, that's the other side of it. Looking at you made $40, you made nothing. And it's tough. It's a long road, but and I think, again, I love when we talk to different people, there's always a theme. The folks that are more the upbeat folks with the bigger pie. Listen, if you work for Dennis Vandermeer, you learned how to work for the big picture. I mean, did you know Oscar Hurtado? Did you ever work with Oscar?
I didn't.
Because Oscar probably left Vandermeer, right? Because he knew Scott. That's how I met Scott, was through Oscar. And Oscar was at Chastain with me when I was just first getting started. And I mean, he taught me to run a group like nobody's business because he was used to big numbers coming from Vandermeer. So you learn, which was great because Atlanta is a lot of that too. You get teams that want to practice together. So as a coach, do I want 14 people at the court at the same time? No. But as a team, they want it. It's financially more feasible and they want to be with their friends. And I was fortunate enough to deal with it. And we were competitive, Oscar and I, but I learned an awful lot about how to move people through a drill. And, that's important. I was fortunate enough to work with somebody who had been to Vandermeer, learned through Dennis. And, that's how the journey started for all of us. And I think that's very important. And that's, again, we go back to not to lay blame on anybody. It used to be with the USPTA, they didn't actively seek you to get a certification until you had been in the business for 5 years. Get in the business, make sure you want to be in the business, learn about the business, and then take the next step. Now we've rushed people into a certification and we might not keep them because they don't know everything what they're about to, venture into. And then they're surprised because they want to be driving the same Mercedes as their clients. And don't get into coaching if that's what you're all about.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's not happening. So
don't do that. That reminds me. Well, that was one of the phrases you said. Don't drive a car that's nicer than your clientele.
Never.
Even if you can,
Right.
if you can, unless you're Craig Matheson. Even if
Right.
you can, don't bring it to work. Let's just put it that way.
Leave it at home. That stays in the driveway.
But how do we grow it? How do we convince people? And this is what Kelly and I have been talking about recently, the culture here that is so competitive. We know we want to convince more coaches to work together. You, Kelly, you partnered with Colleen, right? What are you guys doing together?
Yes.
Collaboration. How has that helped versus trying to compete in the area?
I mean, we complement each other. It takes a lot of burden away from me on many other ends. I mean, I just don't enjoy the business side of it. And Colleen's fantastic at it. And they've already had this apparatus set up where it's just made it a lot easier for me to focus on, kind of what's on the court and, like developing coaches and getting them and their confidence built up. Because in the end, it's like, do I really want to be out there that long anymore? Not really. I'm in it for the discussions. I'm in it for, like I was saying, the philosophies and what's going on. I'm in it for the coaching theory of what could be taking place at this point in my career. Yet I'm still many times finding myself standing out there as a body on the court because there's no other way to make money, right? And our failure to think differently is what hurts us. Like where are the big events? We're in Atlanta. Where are the events amongst juniors and coaches? Like why can't I call up a UTA and say, hey guys, let's do all this without it being just, a UTR sanctioned tournament? Why can't we just get together and have an event for rec level players or orange ball level players or red or performance or adults? And all of us coaches hop on the court together and see what we know. I mean, where's the respect for each other?
Well, and that's about growing the pie. Or can we get a group of coaches from the area to get together and not be afraid of losing a client to another coach? Oh, that coach is taller. They're going to leave me for that coach is better, younger, whatever those things are that these coaches that think they're really good at what they do, yet there's clearly fear that they're going to lose clients if they collaborate. And
absolutely.
I don't know how common that is, but the idea that we can't say, hey, you know what? I don't work in Marietta. Bobby doesn't work in Marietta. Somebody calls me and says, hey, Shaun, I need a tennis coach in Marietta. I'm going to send them over to somebody good in Marietta. Would you not want to be on that list? And in that case, are we all actually helping each other? And maybe even Bobby and I talk about specializations where I have specialized in a certain way. Bobby runs the club. He's big picture. He's going to be able to handle the business and the negotiations with the HOA and the vendors. So we all have these things that we're good at. Kelly, if you really like being on court and Colleen can handle the structure, that's a great fit. Like you said, now where are all the other pieces? And once we put all these pieces together, then all of a sudden we've got events and then we've got more people coming in and we can take some of that COVID era. Can I say that? Is it long enough ago to call it?
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, COVID era. Yeah.
COVID era boon, so to speak, of tennis players, of families coming out just to have fun. We can bring them back out onto the tennis court because it's not just one guy. And I think, is that what we're really defining, which is stop dividing up what already exists, because it's not that much, because there's so much more out there.
Absolutely there is. And it didn't take us long. Once we realized we were on the same page. And Colleen, he's good. He's really good at high performance. The better these guys get, the more effective he becomes. And for me, like, I really love early development. It's not that I don't like high performance. I just like early development. I like working through that. I realize the effect that you can have on a human being in their first 7 years of their life. It really changes the way they will view the world in the future. And the more I know and understand about that, the more I just love it. And then you take the adult side. Why don't we have an adult academy? People are going to live longer. They're going to live longer these days. Like, there will be healthier lifestyles. Why is it that once you're out of juniors that you can't have a regular program that's not a drop-in drill? And it doesn't seem to be many tennis academies for developing adults.
I was gonna say, can we ask that question directly of Bobby? Bobby, is there an answer to that question? You do a lot of drills, Bobby. So if you don't know everything Bobby does at Windermere, almost daily, really good.
Oh gosh, you're a Windermere
adults.
Yeah.
Really good stuff for adults, but you can't. I don't know that anybody's going to sign up for an academy. Those ideas have been floated. Bobby, where are we in the culture of tennis to provide for adults in that way?
The big thing we have to overcome, and I completely agree. I fight like tooth and nails. I'd rather do drills, open drills, and I remind them constantly, we're neighbors first. Because there's nothing that gets me angry. And this is what I'll tell you, there's a lady that was one of my biggest supporters for 11 years who will not talk to me anymore because I told her that a beginner or somebody she viewed that was less of a player than her, she was complaining that she was in one of the drills. And first of all, you're disappointed that we're bringing that up in front of people. So that's like, okay, this is a private conversation, but okay. So you're doing it in front of people trying to rally support. So you lose a little bit of esteem for the person to begin with. That person has certainly been the subject of the conversation on the other side, where people came to me and said, why is she still in the drill? And I said, because she lives in the neighborhood. And that's what I would always, my culture was, we're a neighborhood first, and that's going to make the program prosper. The other and then it's our best friend and our biggest enemy, which is Alta, is that they have been conditioned to practice as teams. And when you try to break up the team, there's a comfort zone there. And that's the biggest thing. And that's the biggest handicap of learning, is getting people to step out of their comfort zone. And Alta gives them a self-imposed comfort zone. Like Kelly said, I laugh and I tell this question all the time. Were you ranked when you played as a junior? And I said, shoot, I was 17th at my club. I could lose 17 times. I didn't need to travel to lose. As an adult, I realized who those guys were. And, they played pro. They went to play D1 tennis. There was a lot of talent in this little club in Long Island. But, it was a different time. And we were just there. I came from a baseball mentality where it was a team. I was going to play a sport. I wasn't going to join a team. I enjoy tennis. I think there's so many things inherent about tennis that we have to overcome. And then again, the person who decides drills are more important, you're going to take a hit initially. Okay.
Yeah.
Changing the culture. But my history says, and my belief system says, it's going to work out. Are you going to go through ebbs and flows? Absolutely. Did we try to do an academy? We did all encompassing, like you would pay 6 weeks. This is your price. So come as many times.
For adults, you did.
Yeah. So, and that did great. And we really, in the beginning, it did great. Again, what's the problem for us is ebbs and flows of people move out, people move in, and we get older. There's so much that goes into it. I don't think we can look at it from any one answer. I think you got to look at it and say, if I want to do an adult academy, great. If I get 5 people, great place to start. And let's build it from there. It's not going to be like a junior academy where you're going to get 10 kids, because unlike that, parents will drive for their kids. They're going to take what's
Yeah,
convenient for themselves. So there's
that makes
that
sense.
sense as well. Simplicity. What's the easiest to get there? What's the most cost economical? I will spend money on my child. For me, I'm going to take what's easiest and make the best of it.
That makes sense. We tried to start it out here a little bit, and it got rolling. It was actually like I was working with Marley Woods at the time, and I don't know if you know Marley, but
I know Marley, worked for Marley.
she is she's a walking encyclopedia. Like it's unbelievable of experience, uh, expertise, the whole deal. Like it was actually hard working with her,
Yeah.
and it was like, on the ego for someone like me who's been doing this for so long, and she just like you take a gut punch and hit your knees every morning when something new comes up. It's like, oh my gosh, I never saw it this way before.
Yeah.
And so it was actually, I don't know if you had any of that experience, but
Well, did
she
you
spent a
work
lot of
with your
time
perfect
in
example? Did you work with Marley prior to or after AAC? Atlanta Country
after,
Club. So after. So you met her. I met her at Atlanta Country Club. Like you said, had all the admiration and would go to Atlanta Country Club and tell these, well, you really don't know what you have here. And they'd be like, well, she doesn't do this. And I'd be like, you really don't know what you have here.
You have no idea. Yeah.
They have no idea. And it gets back to fit. She was not the right fit for Atlanta Country Club. But you sit there and that's the bad part, because there would probably be people from Atlanta Country Club say, oh, we like her, but she, coaching, it wasn't a work. Well, it goes both ways. She's knowledgeable. Heck yeah. I mean, obviously one of the best when it comes to cardio tennis there is in the area, in the country, for God's sakes. And I brought her up to Windermere a couple of times. I'm like, do you realize you have one of the best cardio coaches in the country coming up here to set up cardio for you? And it's not their thing. And it falls back on the coach. It's like, well, you can't, but don't bring it on Marley. She certainly knows what she's doing.
Yeah. And it's funny. She's one of those people I owe so much to. She opened my eyes. She was one of the ones that made me almost quit. No, really. I mean, it was a big help. She was a huge help. And I'm glad that I got to work with her. She's one of those.
Think about passion, where she would drive from to get to work. I mean,
it's unreal.
Close. I mean, she was working.
It's unreal.
A new baby. I mean, there was so much going on, and I was like, you guys really don't know what you got.
She showed me so many things, man, and I do so many things the way that she showed me today.
Yeah.
But it's fun because my experience has been able to really kick in, and I bring her up because like she's one of those people growing the pie. Like everywhere she goes, like there's more interest. She's volunteering all the time. She's always growing the coaching education. She's always training new coaches. So she's one of those grow the pie people.
Oh, that's good. We're gonna have a name for this grow the pie group. That I'm gonna have to get in touch with John Wertheim and tell him thank you that we're stealing the concept. But and Bobby and I talk about it a lot. It is we want to. We're not just chopping it up saying, okay, I'm hungry today, so let's cut the pizza into 10 pieces instead of 8. It doesn't work that way. Let's actually understand that we can help each other. And like you talked about with events, but then if we go back to the idea of saying, okay, we're growing it, that doesn't always mean new people. It can mean a friend of a friend. It can mean somebody who used to play, but it also can mean, hey, you know what? I had somebody that was a great client over here, just moved over to the other side of town, help them find the next coach. But I just don't see enough of that. I do a lot of that. I don't know why. I've done it for years, where when somebody calls or somebody comes into a message, say they go to tennisforchildren.com and they send me that message saying, I'm looking for this thing. I live in Marietta. Shameless plug, sorry. I live in Marietta looking for this. I need a red ball thing. And they're like, I know a guy, go here. Right now, we don't have anything in Buford. So I'm like, go to Buford City Park, find David Matthews. Go to Terrell Mill, find Kelly Allen. And it's that thing where I don't know why more people don't do it. Maybe they're just tired. I don't get paid for this. I'm like, no, but you know what? When they walk up and say, hey, Coach Kelly, Coach Shaun told me that you're great. What are you going to do when somebody calls in my area? Are we not friends now? An easy way, that referral just to make a friend?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like if you trust the people that you're with and you already know, like, and you guys have a commonality in the way you teach, even like an understanding, like we don't have a language. We don't have a language that we speak to our students that's similar. And that's one of the things that PTR and PTA or USPTA, they try to do is at least give the coaches a language. But if they're all embedded in what's always worked, then those languages it's just a bunch of chatter. It's like 1,000 different dialects and nobody understands each other. And that seems to be that, like, there's just no conversation. And there almost isn't one to be had. I mean, it was hard enough for me learning what Marley was teaching me. And then I'm sure that, God, I was probably horrible to work with. And you know, looking back, I'm just like, wow, all of it changed when the language changed. And then it opened up a world of, like, all these ideas that I had before, they fit right in. You know, it's not that what I knew before doesn't matter. It just simply somebody gave me a funnel to put it in. And now it all goes to the same place, and the energy goes to the right place. That's all.
And that's
And so, like, sharing that information, like, I would love to give someone a funnel.
yeah, and that's where we can help each other. But I think the young pros, Bobby met me in my early 20s. Bobby knew there was something there, so he kept in touch. Didn't necessarily mean he wanted to be around me a lot of the time, because I came in probably like a lot of coaches thinking I was great, and didn't realize until a Wilson Tennille and a Daryl Lewis and a Justin Yo and these guys that could really just say, hey, Shaun, you might think you're great, but let's actually help you to get there, because you're 23 years old and you have no idea what's going on here. And yes, there's potential. So a bit of it is respect, and to be able to respect the people you work for, that you work around. And it isn't even just, I might be older than Bobby, you might be older than me. It isn't just age. It isn't just this person is older than me. It's what do they have that I don't have? Maybe they know something that I don't already know. I think that was one of the rules. There was a Jordan Peterson rule that I read in one of it. It was assume the person you're talking to knows something that you don't. Like,
Yeah.
It'd be great to know more things. We're coaches. We're educators. We're helpers. We're mentors. It'd be great to learn more things rather than just saying, oh, you're new, you don't know what you're doing. So that respect goes both ways. And I'll use that as a kind of a struggle to tie in respecting the youngest, because I know that's the other topic we want to talk about. Is respect can go both ways. We force this kid, this 5-year-old, this 7-year-old, to respect me because I'm the coach and I tell you what to do, but we don't show them similar respect. What's that coaching relationship like for you, Kelly? You've got a fairly, I would call it a unique way of looking at it, but maybe it's just because it's the first time I've heard of it.
Well, I gave the example. He gives the example in the book, The Courage to be Disliked. It's actually about Adlerian psychology. It's one of the best books, life-changing books I've ever read, because it was the first time I was truly introduced to Adlerian psychology. And he was given a definition of respect where the definition was allowing somebody to be exactly who they are without any intention of changing them. Yet most people's idea of respect has an authoritarian feel to it. In other words, you respect me and do what you're told because of my position. And that's everything but that. When you do what you're told because you're afraid of somebody, you're being manipulated. That's manipulation. If you're afraid of making someone mad, or you need to make someone happy, you're nothing more than subject to the emotions of the person so-called demanding respect. But if you look at respect like it's a ball, and if all you do is hold that ball and yell at everybody and say, give me this ball, right? And you never give it out, they can't give it back. So if you're the one holding on to it and all you do is hold on to it, it's like holding your breath. You hold it long enough, you will have no breath whatsoever. If you hold on to the respect and expect it to come at you, it's simply not going to.
And that's a way that we can get more people. Understanding that is a way we can get more people to play. Adults, kids, whoever it is. One of my favorite, I learned this fairly early, actually, in my teaching career at TPC Sugarloaf, where I really cut my teeth for a few years. was I would bring on I was in charge of the men's thing for a while. And I'd have these 15, 20 guys coming out for drills. And every time I'd open the gate for somebody, I'd step into my office, walking into the courts. Well, these are guys, these are financially successful guys. And I'm making my joke, step into my office. And there were a few times where the guys made sure I knew they actually did respect me. I thought I was being cute. But what I realized, they were coming to me because I am the expert. We had a guy that was, I think he was head of the Federal Reserve in Atlanta. And when he walked into the court, like 99% of things, he's got me. But in this one area, he came to me as an expert, and he listened, and he appreciated that. And we got to have these conversations directly about why we were doing this, and that they were respecting me in that way. But I also understood this is the only time I get to tell this guy what to do. And that was really a cool realization for me, is I respected them for who they are just naturally.
Yeah.
And they respected the time on court with me as an expert in the thing that I'm doing. And with the kids, it was the same way. It was respecting them as children to be themselves and have fun. Yes, but you think they're capable of more. To the kids, you think they're capable of more than just having fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just that, it's meeting them where they are. In other words, like not trying to get them to go somewhere where they're not ready to go yet. But, this is another one of those things I learned, the gut punch. Why are you constantly having to show them how to do something? Like, why isn't it that it's not already there? And that all you have to do is give their creativity parameters. Because creativity without parameters is all over the place. And they're at their most creative. I mean, like they'll be chasing airplanes with their arms up, man. And sometimes I'll jump in with them. Like, I want to feel that way. I wish I was that real. I wish I was that authentic. So when you got these little, like, truly authentic human beings out there, and they're just trying to do what they know, and all their experiences are different, if you just set little parameters and allow them to be successful and not praise them or rebuke them or anything of that nature, as long as they're not hurting anyone, you'd be really surprised, like, how much the parents appreciate that more so than you coming down on the kid for misbehaving. And I had told a parent a few weeks ago, and she was kind of coming down on the kid for not doing what they're told. And I said, look, when this kid's a teenager and he's hanging out with his friends and there's a bully standing there trying to get him to do something he doesn't want to do, you want him to do what he's told? Because that's all going to change in the future. And right now, he's still got that. And now I'm going to bring him back in, but I'm going to do it without making him. I'm going to let him come in on his own. And that's just a hard thing to do, because when parents have these expectations, it becomes about parents. And it's simply not about them. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's about those children. And the more they see that, they just want more of you. They just keep bringing them back. It's pretty neat, actually. And it's been one of the hardest discoveries I've ever had, because I spent 15, 20 years telling people what to do. That's why I almost quit. It was almost embarrassing, realizing that I don't have to tell anybody anything what to do. I can help them if they ask me. But if they don't ask me, then I'm going to respect that they don't want it yet. Adults are a little different, though. Well, adults will ask. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to ask Bobby. Bobby's got a few high school kids in his program that I'm sure he's dealt with the kids and the parents, and how unique of a situation that can be.
Yeah,
well, it goes back to when you get the kids too. I mean,
yes.
the great part about getting them young, because I'm different when I get them young as opposed to when, you get them at a certain age and you say, okay, I got to set the parameters first, and then they get to learn more about me by being there with me. With the little ones, like you said, I'm the one out there that the other coach wants to leave because I'm creating more chaos. I want the kids to have fun. Like you said, I want them to be as creative as they can be. I want them to enjoy, because they're not coming back in the beginning. They're not coming to play tennis. They're coming to have fun. So they better enjoy it. So if they enjoy it, they come back. By coming back, they're going to get better at tennis. And the great part about coaching, and it better be the reason why you do it, because again, you're never going to be rich. You're going to be in a pain. You're going to work long hours. Is that what I love about a kid, that when I started really young, whether they play tennis or not, when I see that kid, whether it be at a Publix, around the tennis courts, we can go back to when they were young and they first met me, and they'll relax and be different than they are with anybody else because we have that shared experience. And that's the buzz that keeps me going. That's the buzz, and I enjoy it. And she's sitting in the other room and she can hear me. But having a child who spends every day with me, 24 hours, to see the things that she's gotten just by being next to me, not lecturing, not saying, like you said, I don't want to squash the creativity. Heck, I want you to be more creative. You're in the prime creative zone. Tell me something that's going to make me $1 million. Discover something on Etsy that we can sell. I don't want to just buy it. I want to sell it. But
Bobby's chasing his daughter around like, all right, what are you into? What are we going to
come on? Absolutely.
Find the exit strategy.
I ask him about tennis. I'm like, it's a different generation. What? And it is. It's so much social media driven, and it's so. I laugh. I give her a hard time. They all want to look the same. I mean, we went out of our way to look different, but there's a trend. I've spent, days looking for Stanley thermoses. And is it a great product? Yes. But, it's like, it's different. Whatever it is, it's different, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with different. Different brings more. I don't want to pretend like I know everything. Different is what makes it interesting. So, I'd rather be interesting than dull, but it goes back to, hey, not everybody's going to subscribe to that. So, not everybody's going to like you, no matter how likable you think you are. And you got to be okay with that. And that's, that's what
I feel like Bobby's talking to me with that one. I don't know that's also corrected. Right.
See, you're the person. Look at Shaun. You didn't even know how you meant it. I laugh. I said that. Yes, I met Shaun. Shaun was an upbeat, lot of energy. I said, holy cow, this is somebody that I want to know. So what did I do? He wanted to work someplace. Oh, where did he work first? For somebody that I knew very well, that Shaun was going to be taken care of, and Shaun, at a place where he wasn't going to be able to be probably as creative as he wanted to be, just because of, hey, it's a fancy club. You're going to have to pick your time. So you're going to, there's a maturation process, and you learn what's appropriate when. It doesn't mean I don't sit there and still fly like an airplane. I'll do it with my adults. Because, hey, I just made a shot that you can't, and I'm going to celebrate it. And that's fun. That's, that's the moment. And I want everybody to experience that fun of saying, oh, I just did something that even surprises me. You should get to celebrate that. So, there's got to be, hopefully, the motivations. And I think so much, like I said, it all starts from the beginning. What brought you here? What got you into it? What are you trying to get out of it? If you're prone to be, Kelly, what I hear is you never want to stop learning. And I feel very much the same way. There's
it's
always
like it's like less and less about more and more.
Exactly. And I can't wait to read this book, because I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. I'm like, that's a philosophy.
I wrote it down as well. I think Kelly's the same way. I look at myself and about learning as well. I was 35 and I looked at myself at 25. I'm like, man, I was an idiot. And then I turned 45, looked at myself at 35. I was like, oh my God, I was such an idiot. I'm interested when I'm 55 to look back at myself now and say, okay, hopefully I'm not thinking I was as much of an idiot as I feared.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, and you're working in these 10s, but I really adopted finally, after, lots of help, the Matthew McConaughey look at it, right? Who is your hero? It's me 10 years from now.
There you go.
This is who I want to be. Right. And this is what I'm trying to become. And this is why I've gotten so deep into like philosophy. It's just this idea that I am all these things, like the good and the bad will rise mutually with me. But I still want to walk in the direction of that hero of me 10 years from now. And I feel like everybody's that special, like everybody's this way, like everybody's this important. And it comes all the way down, like I was saying, to Red Bull. It's everybody's this important. And if we can't learn to see it this way, we're in trouble anyway.
Agreed. Here you go, Shaun. I know we're on a tight number, but again, as it always happens, we just got, and I love this discussion, and I think this is a problem with our society today. Where are the heroes? Not just who are the heroes. The hero, I think we've had to manufacture, or we try too hard to manufacture them, rather than just through time, you sit there and look at it, whether it be a movie star, you know, what the line, whatever happened to the movie star, that person who just did not need to say, you didn't need to be told that they were a movie star. The athlete who you did not need to be told, they walked in the room and your jaw drops. You know, the Muhammad Ali, when he's lighting the torch, nobody knows, and 65,000 people are initially speechless because it's like, holy shatta, that's Muhammad Ali. You know, and I think we're losing in society because of that, because we have a tendency to want to bring our heroes back down to the ground, and I don't know if anybody benefits from that. I'm all for the simplicity of, I want to be my hero, but you learn from other people, and I think that is an issue, that we do go out of our way to knock down people who could be heroes, or the heroes just say, you know what, I don't want anything to do with it. I mean, you mentioned Jordan Peterson, what that man has gone through for saying something about something and how it was misconstrued and how it became a whole life of its own, where if you listen to what he said initially, you're like, well, he didn't say anything, he wasn't putting anybody down. And, you know, and you got to be careful. Don't say Jordan Peterson, because if you know who Jordan Peterson is, everybody's got an opinion on him. And that's too bad, because it's like everything else. Does he have good things to say? Sure. Do you have to agree with everything? No. He's not asking you
And
to.
That's the definition of respect, right? Like, it's okay for him to be him.
Yep. And he doesn't, you know, he's cool with it. And that's the way it should be. We should be able to have a civil conversation and be able to walk away and say, okay, you know, we're a little different here. How do we massage it and prosper? So that's a whole nother
conversation. That, like, I mean, I guess every human being, and we're in a different world now. I mean, there's so much information available on the different, like, neuroses. We all have it. And like we have these, like, generations of say, like, people raising people coaching people who haven't dealt with their own neuroses first. And, you know, like, as soon as you figure out how to climb from the bottom, or you're the one that realized there is no bottom, if you don't know how to get out of there, why are you coaching somebody else how to get out? Because you don't know. Like, you know, and it's not saying everybody has to go to the bottom, but, you know, that's the thing, is like, do you really know what you're saying? Do you really know that you can help? Or are you walking in, because we got this world of, you know, I'm a life coach. What does that mean? Like, you're 30 years old.
What do you know about
I'm a life coach. I'm 27. I'm going to do this for a living.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, what was it like to be 70?
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of getting out, Kelly, you're now down to 3 minutes for your King of Tennis question. So I'm gonna have to push.
Buddy, we already answered it.
But well, yeah,
we already answered that
for me, because I know the King of Tennis question was coming, and I think we did a good job of summing up the things we wanted to talk about today. But let me ask the direct question, and we'll see if we can knock it out pretty efficiently here at the end. Kelton Allen, if you were sorry, no, I'm kidding. If you were King of Tennis, is there anything you would do or change?
Yes, I would make sure that in all of the training that we defined respect, and that we all agreed on what it meant. And it's because the lack of respect causes more damage than anything. That's all. Not respecting your clients, not respecting the ages and stages of the maturity of the player or what they might be going through, or not respecting even the role of the parent. A lot of times we can do as coaches, not respecting other coaches. I've done this so many times. I've been a victim of it, and I've been the one doing it. And it's just something that I just try to stay away from. And I know right away when I do disrespect someone in some way, and I try to make it right. But I think that that's a big deal. And everybody walking on the court, they're out there to have a good time. And competition and opponents create an atmosphere where you can just simply give your best. And that's all it is. The score is a means to an end. It's not to say who's better than the other. That's
good, because our last score, I think you won. So clearly it's just a means to an end. It has nothing to do with who's better.
Dude, I love where you are in this. This is awesome. Love where you are in this. This is a great route.
What I'm gonna ask you, Kelly, is at some point, we're not gonna do it now, but at some point I want to get together with you and have your definition of respect. that as king of tennis, if you were to say, if we can hang this on every wall in every tennis center in the world, we want the quote. You know, here's the definition. Here's the statement you want to make to every tennis center, every facility. And let's see if we can define that, and we'll put it out and we'll see if we can make change. Does that sound good?
Let's write it down and steal it from the book.
There we go.
Yeah.
If you already know exactly what you do, we don't even have to personalize it, but we'll figure it out.
Somebody
Kelly,
already said it better, man.
okay, that's good. We can quote somebody else. I'm just saying, if I can change it a little bit, I can put my name on it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly,
Thank you guys.
I appreciate your time. Bobby, as always, this is awesome. I'm sure we can go on forever, as we always know we can, but we will come back and have some of those other conversations in longer forms, and we will stay in touch. Kelly, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly.
you guys for what you're
Pleasure.
doing.